Ricardo Rosset then coming around to complete a lap. Be interesting to see what his first flying lap is. At the moment, Monthermini heads the times because he's done most of the laps so far. And Rosset puts his first time in fairly steady time just out of the pits and will now begin to pick up the pace a little bit. Big difference, of course, driving a Grand Prix car from driving a Formula 3000 car. What areas, John, do you think really that he's going to have to adapt to now?
I think partly the braking of the cars, these Formula 1 cars, carbon brakes, carbon pads, the extra downforce a Formula 1 car generates, and the basic configuration of the car. Certainly the Formula 3000 cars up to the end of 95 followed a particular technical path, but the car, of course, for 96 is a one-make car, it's one engine, one chassis formula, so they will be quite different to the previous Formula 3000 cars and the kind that Ricardo Rosset would have used. But basically, the engine performance, certainly about 200 horsepower more in the case of Brian Hart's V8 engine compared to a Formula 3000 engine. It just gets to corners quicker. It doesn't sort of give you that extra kick in the back that you might think it gives, but it's in cornering and in braking that the greatest difference will be notable for Ricardo.
Not an easy circuit either to get his baptism on as well. We had quite a lot of comment from various drivers yesterday after their first real sessions on the circuit. It's proving to be quite popular. A lot of the drivers saying it's a great track. It's somewhere between a street circuit and a permanent course, as we were saying earlier. A little bit bumpy in some places, but generally very, very positive reaction. They just feel that perhaps in the future few changes in terms of safety will make it even better next year.
Well, I think one of the things that, of course, didn't happen.
Salo, Herbert und Häkkinen, das ist Ricardo Rosset an der Barrichello-Stelle. Das ist die brasilianische Kurve.
Allerdings. This is a replay. That's him at the bottom of your screen through the left-hander. Ferrari behind him, and it was simply a case of on the gas too early. Got up on the ripple strip, drifted across the road and slammed into the crash barrier. Damage largely superficial, but he's okay. The car not too badly damaged.
He's let Bert's past, and there's Damon going for another one on the outside of... he's on a charge, isn't he? I'd love to see that. On the outside of the Tamburello chicane, Damon having a go for another position with Rosset. This should be relatively easy meet as long as Damon doesn't trip over him in his total frustration. Remember, we spoke to Damon on the grid and he was really looking forward to this race. What I was saying is maybe Fisichella should let Bert's pass and have a good punt at Frentzen, and that'll give Fisichella a clean run at the pair of them.
Martin, it's easy for me to say this, but Rosset is a slow driver. He hasn't covered himself in glory in Formula 1 this season. Should he not, realising Damon Hill is there, move over?
No, he shouldn't, in fairness to him. He's covered himself in more gravel than glory this year, but he is racing for position. This is Formula 1. It's the pinnacle of the sport. You don't let anybody pass. And bad news also for Johnny Herbert. You saw him retiring there, switching the engine off. So some kind of technical problem for Johnny. And that's Damon finally getting past the Tyrrell of Rosset.
So Damon Hill is now up to 15th position with the retirement of Johnny Herbert, unfortunately. The lap after his team leader, and Villeneuve is balked there by, guess who? Ricardo Rosset.
Yes, that was the bit I was telling you about. I don't really know why Villeneuve was so slow down to Tamburello, but anyway, that allowed some back markers to get past him, but he's put that right very quickly.
Yeah, Rosset's having his own fight, of course, because behind him he's got Shinji Nakano, the Japanese driver in the Minardi. So Rosset was fighting to hold his 14th place as Villeneuve came up to lap him, having already gone past Nakano.
The first driver this year to fail to qualify, falling foul of the FIA rule that all drivers must set a time within 107% of pole position. The Brazilian missed the cut by just 0.06 of a second.
And that is Ricardo Rosset, the Brazilian driver in the Tyrrell. He unsurprisingly is last. He's nearly 6 seconds off the pace. Now Rosset is 125.7. In fact, he's outside the 107% at the moment.
He stalled I had a feeling he was going to struggle on that 107% as the front runners get their time together. He's going to try and freewheel and restart it. I'll be surprised if it restarts. He's locked both front wheels. If he'd have let the brakes off, he'd have got in the corner, but he didn't. He stayed on the brake pedal, panicked a little bit, reversed up, stalled the engine. I'd be surprised if he can get a jump start from rolling down the hill towards Lowe's. Normally they need more fuel pressure and more battery power than that to get them to fire up. He may be lucky, but as soon as the hydraulics are gone, he won't be able to find first gear anyway. So Rosset there almost certainly out of the Monaco Grand Prix. He will not now qualify.
Well, you saw the
problem. I mean, that car of this is here's that Rosset. Oh no, what's he doing? He somehow has got that car running, Luke.
He's decided he's going to get it back to the garage the short way by just driving through the grandstands and the gap in the Armco. I hate to say this, but a lot of people here are really debating whether Ricardo Rosset is Formula One material.
Well, it's a fairly short debate, Murray.
End of message. And 3 minutes to go. Still the McLarens on the front row of the grid. Still Fisichella third. This is what happened to Ricardo Rosset from Sao Paulo.
Well, he's obviously lost it on the bumps on the way into the second part of the swimming pool and tried to recover by booting it and spinning it around. It just didn't work, but I'm intrigued to know how he got it. Either he didn't lose the engine before, he just couldn't get it into first gear. Somehow he hooked up first gear and recovered, but he's still now out of the Grand Prix.
News from Louise Goodman about Mika Salo. What is it?
We've just seen Mika Salo go up into 8th place, but I know that the team were hoping to get more from him this afternoon. He ran so well this morning, third at the end of the session. He went out to do his first flying lap this afternoon, and he came straight back into the garage with a gearbox problem. So he spent the rest of the session in the T car, but that's just not dialed in as well as his race car. That's why he's not been able to repeat the performance from this morning.
This is a disaster for the other drivers. Rosset's car is stranded there, is beached on the curb. He's out of view of the other drivers. They'll see the wave yellows, they'll have to slow down. Michael Schumacher has gone out for his final attempt, and really that's going to wreck his final effort to improve his grid position. They can just sneak the back of the Tyrrell out of the way, but that curb, you can see the black lines on it. You drive over that, it's the line through the corner, and I hope the marshals now put the yellow flags away so Michael can have one final flying lap.